Great story, exploration, branching dialogues, player growth. That's where you get that really, really great role-playing experience. So in 2005, we were talking about what we wanted our next game to be. And we had just finished making Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and we were heavy into Neverwinter Nights 2.
In case he saw you as a challenge for my affections. It's like a cage match with you boys.
And at the same time, we were looking at some of the new action games that were coming out, and we're like, wow, some of this stuff is really exciting and really cool. Can we maybe meld these things together?
We want to make a role-playing game, but we need to try something a little different.
And he proposed to us this idea of a sort of lone agent on the run who had enacted this program called Alpha Protocol.
In this case, we're making a modern-day espionage world. We were looking at some of the cool stuff that was happening with Jason Bourne and watching a lot of 24, and we got really excited about the espionage genre. In Alpha Protocol, you start off as a competent agent, but he hasn't done many missions before or anything like that. He's really new to the field.
And as you're going through and you're getting your training in the game, you are set up on particular missions. And as you go through one of these missions, you find out that there's a giant global conspiracy going on.
You are operating under Alpha Protocol.
Interesting. Considering the program's secret, I would have expected you to say traitor, unless you have insider knowledge.
And weapon shipments are being sent out, and there's possible American agencies that are involved with this.
And then the rest of the world opens up to you, and you soon find your hands trying to prevent a worldwide crisis from happening. We actually allow you to choose your motivation and what you want to do for the game. It can be anything from simple revenge to you're extremely patriotic and want to carry out your duty and your mission no matter what.
The way you project yourself definitely affects what people think of you.
You could be a thrill seeker or a cowboy who just wants to ride the wave and see where it goes. But any motivation the player wants to undertake for their character, they can.
What you do now, huh? Kill me? That not get your missiles back.
Alpha Protocol is definitely an evolution of the things that we've learned in role-playing games.
An RPG is a role-playing game. As you go through the game, you basically discover either more about yourself or more about the story that's actually occurring.
Moving into the late 90s, there was a resurgence in role-playing games that we were lucky enough to be part of, with games like Fallout and Baldur's Gate and Planescape Torment, where the genre really advanced. It became much more story-based. We have quite a pedigree in working on games like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Neverwinter Nights 2.
And then we were able to branch out to doing sort of more experimental RPGs, which we're doing with Alpha Protocol, which is our first real-world RPG, which I'm incredibly excited about.
We really wanted to make an action-y game, something that really made the player have to think both tactically and be a little twitchy at the same time.
When it comes to Alpha Protocol being the forefront of modern RPGs, I definitely think we have some things going for us.
You have player character growth, RPG systems and stats, combat.
We have a lot more action elements in a kind of a real-time setting.
Story that branches with dialogues.
Our combat mechanics are excellent.
Tons of items and equipment. And Alpha Protocol really stood out as this exciting thing that we could do, where we could take all of this experience and make something that was really new and different and incredibly cool.
Our use of exploration of real-world spaces is intriguing for the player because they're actually exploring spaces they've actually gone through in the real world, but now there's a whole lot of enemies to fight, cool things to find, doors to kick down. Like
everything that you're doing in the world is sort of tangible in a way that things in high fantasy or maybe in science fiction are not tangible.
Basically, you're taking the real world and now you get to play around with it to your heart's content.
All of the owners and a lot of the senior level people at the company have role-playing experience that dates back to pen and paper. And in a pen and paper game, you can kind of do anything you want. And so when we go into making a game, we want to try and have that same sort of experience.
Choice and consequence in a role-playing game, we feel very strongly about as sort of core to the role-playing experience.
I think you have to have lots of items and equipment and things like that the player is going to be able to use to grow their character over the game.
Everybody talks about story in games and that story is the most important thing, but I think we really hit it.
The more we allow a player to customize and sort of choose the skills and abilities they want and then see the repercussions of those choices in the actual game environment is very, very important. Like if you choose to let an arms dealer go within the game,
If we let him go, he could lead us to the people he sold the missiles to.
That actually has game mechanic repercussions on missions that are tied to that hub. So if you let the arms dealer go, for example, that actually means terrorists you meet later on, they're more well armed, they're better supplied.
In the end, I think what's the most important thing is choice.
Our basic goal going in was to figure out how we wanted to use dialogue to tell the story, keep it very tense, and yet at the same time have the, immense production value, great looking characters, and awesome VO. And so all of those top level goals are what we sort of put in the mixing bowl and moved around, and the dialogue stance system is what came out of it.
There's some things I'd like to find out before you stop breathing.
Charming.
Dialogue Stance System, or DSS, is a very fancy way of saying you have choices and that the choices are going to dictate the way the game goes for you.
If you go through the Dialogue Stance System and decide to extort somebody and another player decides to execute them, there are totally different options that come up.
Why are you wasting my time?
Drinking alone is time well spent then.
We provide different options, so it's a little bit of choose your own adventure.
Why are you wasting my time?
So say there's a character that loves for you to be more businesslike. If you come into that conversation and you are being suave, coy, or annoying, you're going to get a lot of different options from them. They're probably not going to give you the information that you wanted, but you may get other things.
So what's the code?
Tell them the Adirondacks are beautiful this time of year.
The player actually has the option to be the dick or be the hero, be completely in the gray. He can be a chauvinist, he can be a misogynist, he can be a ladies' man.
I think my gun is working just fine.
Not according to the tests we ran while you were under.
You're going to hit the same maps, you're going to hit the same levels, but the way characters respond to you and how badly you're going to get hurt and how easy it's going to be for you to get access to certain areas so you can progress through the game is entirely dependent on the way you treat different people.
We work together, we both get what we want.
In a film, people play off of each other in a realistic and very timing-sensitive type realistic conversation. So essentially, you only have a certain amount of time to respond, but it gives a much more cinematic feel. You're not waiting for somebody to respond.
If your objective is to reach the train, then we can help each other out. After that, I can't make any promises.
Nor can I.
Alpha Protocol has quite a large amount of dialogue. Not as much as some of our games like Planescape Torment or even Neverwinter Nights 2, but there are a ton of characters that you talk to.
What makes you think you're ready? Because I tell you, we get a lot of recruits in here, and you're not convincing me.
There's a cast of characters that are about 30 sort of named characters that you encounter, along with a lot of B players and C players.
Can I help you? Or are you going to stand there and insult my shop all day?
I initially thought it would be much more of a challenge, but once we actually got in the studio and the voice actor who plays Michael Thornton, he picked it up within one dialogue.
What I don't understand, though, is why we're talking at all. Unless keeping me alive is important for some reason.
It's all about testing the environment and seeing if the environment bites back. So Alpha Protocol should provide the same sort of experience for the player where it just might bite back.
When I was told we were making a realistic RPG set in a real-world setting, I wanted to try to nail reality as hard as possible.
Where I think it really does feel like a very living world, and I think it feels a lot like characters really are reacting to you and responding to the choices that you make.
As you go through the game, you will grow. He will grow.
I think what makes it amazing is seeing how what you're choosing affects other things down the line.
And there's tons of opportunity to move Mike Thornton where you want to in the world and affect the world.
So in Alpha Protocol, we really tried to make the different approaches not necessarily equivalent, but always balanced, and there's always something interesting and fun going on in each path.
Michael Thornton can't trust anybody because he can make allies or enemies with anybody in the game itself.
Who can you really trust? Is it the person that says they're on your side?
Why trust me with something like this? Why not use your own people?
Or is it the person that says that maybe they're working towards the same goal but they don't agree with you?
I'm afraid it is out of the question.
Or is it maybe you're the person that you thought at the beginning of the game was your sworn enemy? That's definitely one of the themes that we're trying to approach within the storyline of Alpha Protocol.
I think some of the most important allies in our game for Thornton would be Yancey Westridge. He's your handler very early on. He has especially pick Thornton and believes that Thornton can take on this mission.
All right, then, pack your gear.
Konstantin Brayko, he's one of my personal favorites. He's a Russian mob boss who is completely obsessed with American 1980s culture.
Z, our German cougar, based on how you align with her, you can gain a lot of different resources too. Different equipment, ammo, different mercenaries that can come with you on missions, and just different insights on how to go through levels.
We should talk. I do not want to shoot you.
In Alpha Protocol, you will visit Saudi Arabia. From there, you can travel on to Moscow, Rome, or Taipei.
When people play video games, they want to have fun. They want to get away from their jobs and mundane, usual things, and see something new, see something different, see something fantastic.
You're traveling all over the world, and we wanted to make sure that when the players are going from different hub to hub, that they know exactly where they are in the world.
I think Alpha Protocol, because it is heavily story-driven, that's really what's going to make Alpha Protocol really push the limits of RPG.
So the question is, who can you trust?
You cannot make a spy game without some kind of toys.
You have your submachine guns, you have your assault rifles, you have your shotgun, your pistol. We have things like a shock trap, which electrifies your enemies when you toss it out.
A device called a radio mimic. And basically, by listening to their chatter, you go, hey guys, it's me, Bob, turn off the alarms. And they go, oh, it's Bob. Who the f is Bob? But the alarms are turned off.
Raider sweep ASAP.
These are all different ways that you can use to overcome obstacles. And that might be getting past a locked door, it might be getting past some enemies.
When you use the abilities such as Chain Shot, like, time is slowing down and, everyone's kind of moving really slow, and then once you're back in, you quickly just take all the shots out, and it's just like one of those, wow, this is really awesome.
I gotta say, I've loved the shotgun in Alpha Protocol the most, especially with the different types of ammunition that are available. We allow like flechette rounds, we allow armor-piercing slugs. Obviously, my favorite is phosphorus. And you're like, oh, phosphorus, what does that do? Well, basically, we can light the guy's clothes on fire. Now, that is really good if you want to get somebody to stop shooting at you.
In the safe house is where you're going to find your black market, where you can actually go and buy and sell weapons and upgrade your gadgets. Thornton can't make his own weapons, but he can definitely modify them. He can actually add scopes to them. You can decrease the recoil on your weapons. You can add longer clips onto it, so you can actually, come in there with more ammo. In regards to gadgets, you can definitely upgrade all of those and make them a little bit stronger.
Whether they want to stealth into a situation, whether they want to set traps, whether they want to make sure that they're being super quiet or collecting all of the loot or stuff that's in a level, all of these things are affected by really how they've chosen to level up their character and what kind of toys and goodies that they've brought with them.
I think in Alpha Protocol we really do a good job of actually, defining this is a level 1 gadget and this is a level 1 upgrade and this is a level 2. This is a lot different. This is a lot more fun. There's no right or wrong way of doing things. You can take, if you want to go in there and just take all grenades and just your pistol and just start throwing grenades out everywhere and just killing everyone, you could do that. Or you can use some of the more tactical, stealthy weapons.
I think RPGs are a very interesting game in that people want to play around with all of the different types of options that they have available to them, be it with gadgets or with the weapons or armor or different play styles, how they approach the different situations in the game.
You're going to be shooting people and you're going to be blowing people up and you're going to be doing all this stuff, but at the same time, at its core, it's definitely an RPG.
Alpha Protocol is ultimately at its heart a role-playing game.
Beautiful night.
It really has to do with the story and the characters.
You come to kill me.
There's a whole lot of enemies to fight, cool things to find, doors to kick down.
You get lots of toys and guns and gadgets.
We have the reality that you imagine in your head when you're walking out of a James Bond movie.
It's just like, blah, blah, blah. Make people just go, holy shit, that was awesome.
Everybody talks about story in games and that story is the most important thing, but I think we really hit it.
I'd say it goes as far as donkey punching it.
The most challenging part of developing Alpha Protocol has been figuring out exactly what we wanted to do with the game and how to focus it on a particular direction. the spy genre is a very wide open one. Once we got that nailed down and figured out where we were going with it, it really came together really well, I think.
My favorite thing about Alpha Protocol is actually the dialogue.
I think what makes it amazing is seeing how what you're choosing affects other things down the line.
What you do now, huh? Kill me? That not get your missiles back.
A lot of the more interesting, tense moments in the game come when you don't really know what an enemy's motives are and what their agenda is.
You can't stop us.
You haven't won yet, asshole.
When it comes to the main character, Michael Thornton, we didn't want him to be too good looking.
He is not your prototypical super secret spy, but he's still likable.
I can't. You don't know what's going to happen.
Neither do you.
My favorite secondary character in Alpha Protocol is definitely the German mercenary Z.
I think we will be fast friends, darling.
The voice acting for Z was really fantastic. This really great, deep, throaty, slow, milky kind of voice direction that might make some people tighten the jeans, I don't know.
And I thought I might have to work harder.
You would if I wasn't tied down.
My favorite enemy would have to be Konstantin Brayko.
You came for a fight, you got one, buddy.
He's a Russian mob boss who is completely obsessed with American 1980s culture.
He's got a knife. He's just dangerous. You just never know what he's going to do.
My personal favorite gadget is the noisemaker. All it does is project a little burst of noise at a distant location.
It'll cause enemies to respond as though they've heard the player over there. They'll go and check it out, and it just can create some really satisfying combos where you can plant a proximity mine on a wall and then lure people over and blow them up.
Yeah, the world feels very different just depending on location. You're traveling all over the world, and we wanted to make sure that when the players are going from different hub to hub, that they know exactly where they are. My favorite set piece in AP would have to be the Rome Museum. I think the reason I love it the most is that you get to shoot up all this cool artwork. Who didn't want to go to a museum and blow stuff up?
When people look at Alpha Protocol, they have a hard time understanding how it all fits together.
I want to know what you're doing here. Who sent you?
Until people play it and see how we've constructed everything and how all of these pieces of the puzzle fit together, they're not really going to get it.
Who the heck are these guys?
I think when they play it, they will get it, and then they're going to think, wow, this is great.
Case of emergency.